In the last review, I neglected to mention an important part of the building blocks of Doom 3, due to time and not feeling confident enough to make the point. So before we move on to the expansions, let's talk Half-Life. Doom 1 set a benchmark for the FPS genre when it came out, so much that they were called Doom clones first. Half-Life broke that benchmark and is still one of the most influential first-person shooters ever, to the point where modern games still take a lot from it. Doom 3 took some elements from it as well, also System Shock 2, but certain things might have been lifted wholesale.
This is Maintenance Technician Seth Killian. I'm looking for anyone that's survived, but...
Why am I working so hard to make this point? Well, Resurrection of Evil has a gravity gun. Yeah. Resurrection of Evil was the expansion that came out after less than a year, and it shows. But it was not developed by id, instead by Nerve Software. Let's see what else they've done. I don't feel safe. To be fair, there used to be Rogue Entertainment before and made Strike, which I like, and some Quake mission packs I've never tried but will have to. So it can't be that bad. You play another Marine sent in as part of a cleanup crew, going through the ruins of Mars looking for any new artifacts. You grab a strange beating heart and unleash the forces of hell all over again. The story this time is much more condensed, with the single mission being get the artifact to hell in order to seal the portals again. There are still some cutscenes with decent acting, but overall the story or characters are not very memorable.
God, it's good to see you. There's so much I need to explain, but we don't have much time.
We also have much less audio diaries, which seems like a strange misstep, since so much of the world was expanded upon through them. Resurrection of Evil, or ROE for the cool kids, feels less like an expansion and more like modern DLC, with a few things added and less gameplay tweaks. The much maligned, by me, surprise has been heavily reduced with enemy placement being more telegraphed, but the game still places you in small spaces that you can get trapped in. Facing the same grouping of enemies every few steps is still boring after a while, but luckily we have a brand new set of fiends to play with. First up, we have the Vulgar! It's essentially an imp, but if we look closely at the design, you might just see... and it's a xenomorph. The only difference between them and the imp is more health and higher damage output, but they act the exact same. Ooh, scary. The Forgotten Ones are just lost souls that look more like their original designs from classic Doom. Nothing different there, except you can throw them around with the gravity gun, which is not as fun as it sounds. The Bruiser, a real bruiser. Mostly acting as mid-bosses, think Mancuba, but will murder you in seconds. I like the design, and the teeth is a nice touch. The ragdoll takes a lot of the edge away. Look at that asshole, twerking like it's 2017. Lastly, we have naked zombies. Luckily, they don't carry any armaments. I'm not going to judge you if you're into that. No kink shaming here. The level design is very similar to the previous, with a lot of small spaces and them being occupied with the same grouping of enemies. You will fight a lot of Vulgar, as they mostly completely replace the imp, which doesn't really resolve the main issues I had with the previous campaign. There are some open spaces with a variety of enemies, but for most of the game it will feel very similar. Some of the gameplay has been altered though through the introduction of a physics system, which is meant to go in hand with the gravity gun. Sorry, the ionized plasma levitator. My mistake. Unfortunately, you will never use it. since it is hard to pick things up in the heat of battle, and the gun just feels very awkward to use. Perfect example being the first boss battle. There is no one section that perfectly showcases the weapon, like in Half-Life 2 with Ravenholm, a perfect area to showcase the physics and use of a fun weapon. More Half-Life comparisons. Ooh, I'm gonna be so popular. The weirdest part of the gun is whenever you pick up barrels, they immediately light up, meaning you are very eligible to blow yourself up. Also, it doesn't help that most enemies throw projectiles that have splash damage, so being near any barrels will blow you up. Basically just gonna blow up a lot. There are a few gameplay elements I neglected to mention during my last review. The secret areas that call back to older shooters, where you can find some ammo, and maybe a gun before you shoot. Also, a lot of the data pads you pick up will have codes for lockers and doors, which is a popular element today, but only showed up in System Shock 2 before. The game has sections where you have a robot buddy. Don't even bother using it, as you are more likely to get shot by them than the enemies. Just put down old Rover and move along on your own. Another new addition that changes the combat a bit is the artifact, which can be used to slow down time and make some combat encounters easier, also very stylish. Developers realize that as well, so will often put you in small areas where you need to use the artifact to cut through the hordes. Those encounters are also improved upon with the introduction of the greatest weapon ever. I love this gun. It's perfection. Forget about using the machine gun. What are you, a baby? No. One shot from this beast of perfection will turn any enemy to mush. Vulgars, Hell Knights, Revenant, and even Bruisers sometimes stand no chance against it. You are going to want to use it all the time, even to your detriment, because it is such a fun weapon. Jump scares? Nope. Taxes? Done. This guy? Bye-bye. Relationship with your father? Still strained. The only enemies that don't really respond well to the shotgun are the bosses. We have the free Hell Hunters that give an upgrade to the artifact every time you defeat them. The Helltime Hunter is fought with the gravity gun and is therefore the worst one. The Berserk Hunter is the only one you can use the super shotgun on. Finally, the Invulnerability Hunter. Try to say that 5 times fast. They are basically just cooler looking Hell Knights, but take a lot more damage. They all require a different tactic to defeat them that isn't just unload a bunch of bullets. I enjoyed these a lot more than I thought I would, and they were some of the most memorable parts of the game. The final boss is Dr. Betruger, who just requires you to unload, and soon enough, dead. The game is not very difficult, thanks to an abundance of shotgun ammo. Thanks BFG Edition. It does have more difficult moments than Doom 3 though, but that's mostly due to the game bombarding you with more enemies than before, like putting 5 Revenants in a narrow hallway. What the actual hell game? Resurrection of Evil is a weaker entry than the previous one. Since it comes with the BFG Edition, I would say try it out. It's only like 3 hours long, so you can finish it in an afternoon. The introduction of the super shotgun just sells the game. Now, on to the last expansion that comes with the BFG Edition. I adore Lost Missions, and it does not get enough attention. This gem of an add-on should get a whole review on its own, but I'll keep it short. It consists of 8 brand new levels designed to showcase all the best parts of the Doom 3 experience. It has no gimmicks like the artifacts, instead focusing on strong gunplay, enemy placement, and fast movement. I can go through all the fun set pieces and how they implement a good mix of different enemies that emphasize weapon switching during some of the more heated encounters. They have taken out all the annoying ones, instead focusing on strong pairings, and don't make me start raving about the hell segments. No joke, hell looks amazing in this game. The architecture is stunning and the levels are fun to run through. I was having a blast from beginning to end. I honestly do not understand why more people don't talk about this gem. The biggest complaint I have is the final boss just being the Guardian again. Lost Mission seems to be a weird blip that passed by on everyone's radar. But I highly recommend giving it a go. It'll put a big smile on your face.
Turbo Dookie Puncher 3.
My journey through Doom 3 has been an eventful one. The game holds an important place in history, and I would recommend everyone give the BFG edition a try, since it is easy to get a hold of and runs well enough. If Doom 3 is remembered for anything, let it be for its amazing atmosphere, fantastic lighting, and bitching double-barreled shotgun. Give it a go, and thank me afterwards. Thank you for watching, and good night, beautiful people.